thing, so
We're
no.
hoping to change that.
All right, I'm going to insert the drain.
I'm scared that this is going to make things worse. She tries to act all cool deep down, and then she worries. Not really. I was scared at first when I got diagnosed. Now, I don't know. I feel like if I think too much about it, I'll be too scared to do anything. Which says about overthinking free throws. Just gotta shoot your shot.
All right, the drain is in. I'm gonna let you rest and I will check back in a bit.
Cool. I'm not here when you get back.
Welcome back, Grey's fans. Today we're diving into the emotional real-life health struggles of 7 beloved stars, plus we have major spoiler theories for the Season 22 mid-season premiere. Real-life health battles. First, the cast is opening up about life-changing diagnoses. Eric Dane, Mark Sloan, recently shared his brave battle with ALS, while Stephen W. Bailey, Joe the bartender, revealed he has a rare neuromuscular disorder and will now be using a wheelchair. James Pickens Jr., Dr. Weber, is celebrating being cancer-free after a prostate cancer scare in 2025. Other stars, including Patrick Dempsey, dyslexia, Kate Walsh, brain tumor, and Camilla Luddington, Hashimoto's, are also using their platforms to advocate for early detection and self-care. Season 22 spoilers. On screen, the drama is just as intense. Following the shocking premiere death of Dr. Monica Beltran, fans are terrified for the January 8th mid-season return. The fall finale left Joe Wilson in critical condition during an emergency C-section. New fan theories suggest a heartbreaking twist. While Joe might survive, viewers are predicting that one of her twins may not make it, potentially causing a rift between Link and Winston. Fun fact. 7 Grey's Anatomy stars who bravely opened up about life-changing health battles. For years, Shonda Rhimes' hit ABC medical drama Grey's Anatomy has explored illness, resilience, and survival on screen. Its storylines, often centered on medical emergencies, mystery illnesses, and complex diagnoses, have helped bring awareness to health conditions that rarely receive mainstream attention. Off-screen, several of the show's stars have faced serious health challenges of their own. From mental health struggles and autoimmune disorders to cancer diagnoses and life-altering neurological diseases, these actors have spoken candidly about the moments that forced them to slow down, seek answers, and rethink their lives. Their stories offer rare insight into the realities behind the spotlight and highlight the importance of listening to one's body and seeking medical help at the right time. Read on. 1. Patrick Dempsey. Patrick Dempsey has spoken powerfully about growing up with dyslexia, describing how early struggles shaped his sense of self and ultimately his success. Speaking at GatePath's annual Power of Possibilities event in 2023, the actor, best known for playing Dr. Derek Shepherd on Grey's Anatomy, led with a reflection that has come to define his journey. Out of the struggle, you find that unique gift that comes from your disability. Dempsey recalled feeling like he and his classmates were abandoned misfits in an education system that did not understand learning differences, adding, "We all wanted to belong, to believe in ourselves and have confidence. When you're not meeting the expectations of what society considers perfect or normal, it wears on you. You feel left out and discarded." Bullied and often misunderstood, Dempsey added he found comfort in entertaining classmates, discovering his talent in special education classrooms. Looking back, he said his diagnosis later freed him from believing he was incapable. "Everybody's an individual and we have to approach education in that way," he said. Reflecting on his unlikely acting career, Dempsey admitted, "Acting is the worst profession I could have chosen, really. It's all about the A-word or right," explaining that years of auditions required memorizing pages of dialogue. Today, he views those hardships as grounding lessons. "It's nice and it's wonderful, but it's not who you are," he said of fame, urging others to reject shame. "This has nothing to do with your intelligence, at all," he added, ending the powerful speech with a broader message. When people stand up and they work together as a community for what is right, change will happen. That's the power of possibilities. 2. Kate Walsh. Kate Walsh, who played Dr. Addison Montgomery on Grey's Anatomy, has spoken candidly about the subtle symptoms that led to her brain tumor diagnosis in 2015. Walsh first shared her diagnosis publicly during a 2017 appearance on Today, marking her first televised interview about the health scare. She explained that she sought medical help after feeling persistently exhausted. But I just wrapped a show, Bad Judge, and I was starring in it and executive producing, so it wasn't unheard of to be totally exhausted. So I thought I just really burned myself out, she said. As her condition progressed, Walsh began experiencing cognitive changes and said she couldn't find my words, prompting her to push for further testing. After advocating for a diagnostic MRI, doctors discovered a very sizable tumor, which was later confirmed to be benign following surgery. In interviews over the years, Walsh has reflected on how easily the early warning signs were dismissed. During an appearance on The Kelly Clarkson Show in February 2025, the actor said she first noticed extreme fatigue, difficulty concentrating, and a sensation that the right side of her body was dipping, symptoms she initially brushed off. 3. Camilla Luddington. Camilla Luddington has been vocal about adjusting to life after being diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, an autoimmune condition that affects the thyroid. In 2025, the actor revealed that the diagnosis finally explained years of unexplained fatigue, inflammation, and low energy that she had long dismissed. "It's still new to me," Luddington told People in October 2025. She also revealed when she got the diagnosis. "I got the diagnosis at the beginning of summer, so I'm fresh into this journey. After starting levothyroxine and making lifestyle changes, including dietary adjustments, she said she began to notice a major shift in how she felt physically. I feel like I have so much less inflammation," she told People in the same interview. "I was very puffy all the time, not knowing why I was exhausted." The actor added that treatment helped her reconnect with parts of herself she thought were gone. "I feel more myself. I feel like I have more energy for work, for my family," as reported by People. Luddington also shared that routine blood work led to the diagnosis after years of assuming her constant exhaustion was simply part of who she was. "I joke about being slothy," she said on the iHeart podcast Call It What It Is, which she hosts with her Grey's co-star Jessica Capshaw. "Just a little slower. Slower, tired, wanna be in bed, love a nap. It never occurred to me that there could be a medical reason for that." 4. James Pickens Jr. As per Variety, James Pickens Jr. first became aware of a potential health issue during a routine screening in 2025. With a family history of prostate cancer, the longtime Grey's Anatomy star had always been particular about annual PSA tests. At 73, one exam showed elevated results, prompting doctors to order further evaluation. As per the same report, subsequent testing confirmed a rare, early-stage form of prostate cancer. Physicians determined the cancer was localized and had not spread, allowing for swift intervention. After discussing treatment options, Pickens opted for a robotic radical prostatectomy, a procedure aimed at entirely removing the tumor before it could progress. The surgery was successful. By September 2025, follow-up PSA tests showed undetectable levels, and Pickens shared with his fans on Instagram that he was declared cancer-free. Since sharing his diagnosis publicly, he has used his voice to stress the importance of early detection and regular screenings, especially for Black men, who face a higher risk of prostate cancer and poorer outcomes when diagnoses come late. 5. Stephen W. Bailey. In January 2026, Stephen W. Bailey gave fans a closer look at a deeply personal health diagnosis, revealing that he has been living with a rare neuromuscular disorder. In a X thread shared Friday, January 2nd, the 54-year-old star, who appeared in more than 30 episodes of Grey's Anatomy as Joe the bartender from seasons 1 through 7, revealed that he has congenital myasthenia syndrome, or CMS. In what he described as an open letter, Bailey explained that he had spent years being cautious, private and quiet about a condition that has been shaping his life and work, before adding, "That time is over." He further added, "It's the darndest thing, but it turns out I have a rather rare genetic neuromuscular disorder." Weird, right? It's called congenital myasthenia syndrome, noting that he stayed silent for years out of career caution, diagnostic uncertainty, and being private about such things. Bailey described CMS as a condition that interferes with how the brain communicates with muscles, writing, "CMS is a genetic disease that disrupts the communication between the brain and the muscle at the nerve/muscle junction, or whatever doctors call it." He added that the disorder causes his hands, arms, and legs to fatigue more quickly than expected, and that repetitive movement can sometimes cause his muscles to temporarily tighten and shut down. Although the actor said he can still work in a limited capacity, he acknowledged that his future will look different. Practically speaking, moving forward, it's time for my work, like in my life, to start skewing more wheelchair, he wrote. While boldly accepting the reality and constraint of his health battle, Bailey added that he is done hiding and is looking forward to helping broaden on-screen representation, concluding with humor and confidence, same guy. Same actor. Same artist. Now with wheels. 6. Eric Dane. Eric Dane is continuing to adjust to life with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis while remaining committed to working where he can. The Grey's Anatomy alum, 53, who disclosed his ALS diagnosis in April, as reported by People. Despite the progression of the disease, Dane has remained open about wanting to continue acting, explaining during a recent virtual panel with I Am ALS that while his physical abilities have declined, his speech and cognition remain strong. He has acknowledged that future roles may center on ALS, but said he is grateful to work in any capacity. Last month, Dane made his first on-screen appearance since going public with his diagnosis, portraying a firefighter living with ALS on Brilliant Minds. Dane vulnerably revealed the most daunting thing about his acting stint amid ALS battle. I have no reason to be in a good spirit at any time, on any given day. I don't think anybody would blame me if I went upstairs in my bedroom, crawled under the sheets, and spent the next 2 weeks crying, he said, as reported by People. And I was a little bit pleasantly surprised when I realized that I wasn't built like that, because I thought for sure that was gonna be me. He further added, I make sure that people are aware of what ALS is and what it's about, and more importantly, what we can do to combat it and improve the landscape, because it's so rocky and littered with hurdles and bureaucracy and all this other nonsense that we're trying to sift through so we can get to a place where we go, start working on solution. Now, the actor receives around-the-clock care, according to his estranged wife, Rebecca Gayhart, who recently shared how the early warning signs first appeared nearly a year before his diagnosis. Speaking to The Cut, Gayhart recalled noticing Dane's struggle with everyday tasks, including difficulty using chopsticks during meals with their daughters, Billy, 15, and Georgia, 14, which prompted a series of medical visits and initial misdiagnosis. When we would have a meal with the kids, he'd say things like, something's wrong with my hand, Gayhart said. She added, he was struggling to use his chopsticks, dropping his food. That was when he started seeing doctors. He was initially diagnosed with a few other things, but he had this sinking feeling that it was something more serious. And I was like, no, it's not. I promise you it's not. I can feel this. It's gonna be okay. 7. Justin Chambers. The actor who played Alex Karev on GA has spoken candidly about the importance of putting his mental health first. Following his departure from A Grey's Anatomy, the actor acknowledged stepping back to focus on his well-being amid reports that he sought support at a treatment facility in Connecticut, as Page 6 reported in 2020. While he did not confirm specific details, Chambers said the show was very supportive during that time. He has also previously shared his experience with a biological sleep disorder, revealing that he once went months without proper rest before voluntarily checking into UCLA's Resnick Neuropsychiatric Hospital in 2008 to get help, as reported by TMZ. Grey's Anatomy mid-season premiere pics revealed. What clues do you see? Grey's Anatomy fans have been on pins and needles since November waiting to find out what's going to happen after that fall finale cliffhanger, so every little morsel of detail about the mid-season premiere is crucial right now. The latest news is, the first batch of photos from the upcoming January 8th episode have been revealed, and while none of them directly answer the question on everyone's minds, namely, will Jo Wilson, Camilla Luddington, and her twin babies survive their current medical crisis, they might just contain some clues about what fans can expect from the episode, titled Skyfall. The logline for the episode confirms that Jo is indeed in trouble, and that's not all. Winston, Anthony Hill, and Ben, Jason Georgi fight to save Jo's life, while Teddy, Kim Raver, supports Link, Chris Carmack. Owen, Kevin McKidd, and Jules, Adelaide Kane, battle to save a young man, and Lucas as Nico Taro, forms an unexpected bond with a patient. Scroll down to take a look at the new pictures and see if you spot any clues about what they might mean. Grey's Anatomy kills off character in shocking season premiere. Grey's Anatomy kicked off season 22 with a shocking casualty. The ABC medical drama returned on October 9th and wasted no time diving right into the action-packed episode. Back in May, viewers were glued to their screens during the season 21 finale when an explosion rocked the operating room, or. As the new season commenced, fans of the show were eager to see if any of their favorite characters were injured or killed. During the season premiere, fans see Atticus, Lincoln, Chris Carmack, who is currently expecting twins with his wife, almost succumb to his injuries. In the end, though, he makes it out alive. However, Dr. Monica Beltran, Natalie Morales, wasn't as lucky. As a result of the explosion on the operating floor, she was trapped between a wall and surgical equipment, unable to escape. Despite her dire condition, Dr. Beltran coached her intern Jules Millen, Adelaide Kane, through the rest of the surgery and saved a patient's life. At the end of the procedure, Jules looked over to Dr. Beltran and noticed that she wasn't responsive anymore. When the rescuers finally arrived, they realized they were too late to save the doctor and that she had died. Morales, who joined at Grey's Anatomy in season 20, sat down with Deadline to reflect on her tenure on the show and said she first learned that her character had died when producers called her back for this season. "I got the phone call to come back, and I said, oh, I thought maybe she would have died. And then Meg was like, well, I have something to tell you," she said of her conversation with the show's executive producer and showrunner, Meg Marinis. Morales said she felt a mix of things when she learned of her character's fate. "I've been so lucky to be a part of this show, and I feel very grateful to have been a part of it. I think the fandom of this show has been so kind to me and so welcoming, and I think those people that have been welcoming to me are going to be pissed. I'm sorry about that," she said. Morales applauded Marinis for being an incredibly talented writer and so kind. The actor said that a Grey's Anatomy team shot her death scene a few different ways. They shot it in every way, because Debbie Allen is amazing and, like any good director, likes to cover herself, but I'm very glad that they edited it as it was written, because I think it's a better surprise that way, that you don't know that she's dead until Jules does. Morales couldn't recall dying in any of her roles before and said she had to practice a bit to prepare for the scene. "I mean, I've been dead, but I don't think I've died in anything, so that was interesting for me to do. I did also have to practice my death face," she said. Now that her character is officially off the show, Morales reflected on what she will miss the most about starring on Grey's Anatomy. "To me, the crews are always the best part. I got to work with an amazing cast, the writers were all wonderful, and the directors that I worked with were great. So really, it's the people that I will miss more than anything," she said. 6 recurring Grey's Anatomy plotlines that happen every season. Grey's Anatomy premiered back in 2005, but even 2 decades later, the show continues to redefine television itself. The show follows the lives of surgical interns, residents, and attendings at Seattle Grace Hospital, later renamed Gray Sloan Memorial Hospital, as they juggle their careers and personal struggles. What started as a medical drama has quickly evolved into a cultural phenomenon, now with its diverse cast, emotional depth, and ability to use medicine to tackle heavy themes. Grey's Anatomy has never been a typical procedural that focuses on one patient after another. Instead, the show spends a lot of time building its characters and their own storylines, to the point where Ellen Pompeo's Meredith might be the main character, but she's certainly not the only one driving the narrative. Grey's Anatomy is currently in its 22nd season, which is proof that the show has found a formula that clicks with the audience. After all these years of being on air, certain storylines on the medical drama are bound to repeat. Even if the writers have perfected the art of reinventing similar situations that feel fresh, here are recurring Grey's Anatomy plot lines that happen every season. 6. Interns sleeping with attendings. This one is a Grey's Anatomy staple at this point, because if it wasn't for the interns sleeping with the attendings in season 1, the show wouldn't even exist. Meredith Grey and Derek Shepherd's Patrick Dempsey on and off romance practically defined the early seasons of the show and set the stage for everything that came after. However, it feels like the pattern of interns falling for attendings, and vice versa, repeats every season. Whether it's a fresh crop of residents arriving at Gray Sloan Memorial or new attendings finding themselves romantically entangled with their subordinates, these romances constantly cross professional lines. As problematic as they are, though, there's no denying that all this drama is the heart and soul of Grey's Anatomy. The power dynamics that come into play with these intern attending romances in Grey's Anatomy say a lot about the medical world. The interns are often eager to prove themselves in a competitive environment and earn the validation of their seniors. However, since the attendings hold all the power, these relationships can get complicated extremely fast. For example, Christina Yang, Sandra Oh, and Preston Burke, Isaiah Washington, seemed like the perfect match in the beginning, both brilliant in their surgical skills and driven by an intense passion for cardio. The ethical implications of their relationship really came to light, though, when Christina risked her entire career to cover for Burke when he developed a hand tremor. That is just one example, though, because you also have Alex Karev, Justin Chambers, and Camilla Luddington, getting involved in an equally complicated dynamic. Christina herself slept with one of her interns, Shane Ross Gaius Charles, in Grey's Anatomy Season 10, which only highlights how frequently this plotline occurs. Despite the moral questions these relationships raised, this constant push and pull between ambition and desire has become a defining element of Grey's Anatomy. 5. A mass casualty incident or a major catastrophe. Every fan of Grey's Anatomy knows the drill. At least once a season, the surgeons at Grey Sloan Memorial Hospital have to deal with a mass casualty or a major catastrophic incident that wreaks havoc in the pit. From derailed trains to plane crashes, explosions, and even COVID-19, Grey's Anatomy has seen it all, and yet, the show continues to throw its doctors into these life-or-death situations season after season. You have to admit that these major disasters serve as way more than just plot devices, because they often force the characters to confront their personal struggles and evolve as professionals. For example, the ferry crash in Season 3 proved to be an emotional reckoning for Meredith. Similarly, the Season 8 plane crash is one of the most devastating yet defining events in Grey's Anatomy that shaped all the characters' arcs going forward. Sure, some of these plotlines are a bit too far-fetched, like that sinkhole swallowing a whole building in Season 8. However, all these narratives demonstrate just how unpredictable being a surgeon can be. 1 minute, you're navigating your own life, and the next, you have to put all that aside and focus on saving as many lives as you can. Incidents like these practically drive the show forward, forcing the characters to face their fears while making impossible decisions that can change their lives forever. What's great is how the show also sheds light on the aftermath of it all. For example, after the hospital shooting in Season 6, we see Christina questioning her ability as a surgeon after being forced to operate on Derek at gunpoint. The show might repeat this plotline every season, but the writers still managed to keep things interesting. For example, no one saw the Season 18 blood shortage crisis coming. It wasn't as crazy as a hospital fire or a bomb, but it felt just as intense. As heartbreaking as these plotlines are, though, they eventually end up becoming some of the most memorable parts of the show. 4. Messy romances. Intern-attending relationships are one thing, but Grey's Anatomy has its fair share of messy romances beyond that, too. Every season, Shonda Rhimes throws in a few couples who should have never even thought of dating each other, but that's exactly what makes the show so entertaining. Most of these romances are fun to watch, even if they would make for absolutely toxic situations in real life. Two of the most baffling romances in the early seasons of Grey's involved Alex and Izzy's, Katherine Heigl, borderline illegal relationships with their patients, Ava, Elizabeth Reeser, and Denny Duquette, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The great thing about Grey's Anatomy is how the show doesn't shy away from portraying love in all its complicated and painful glory. From Meredith and George's T.R.N.ite, unfortunate one-night stand to Owen, Kevin McKidd, and Amelia's, Katerina Scorsone, on-again, off-again dynamic in the later seasons, the romances are as integral to Grey's Anatomy as the medical breakthroughs. The writers have a way of exploring the characters' inner turmoil through these relationships, and the way the show combines the doctors' personal lives with their high-stakes careers actually feels very seamless. Let's not forget that Meredith's love triangle with Derek and his wife, Addison, Kate Walsh, was pretty much the foundation of the show. Their dynamic explored the fine line between love and guilt, all against the high-pressure world of surgery. That kind of complexity set the tone for every other romance that was to follow, to the point where every season brings a new set of messy romantic relationships for the audience to follow. 3. Medical cases that mirror characters' personal journeys. Every season of Grey's Anatomy features a few cases that serve as metaphors for the characters' personal journeys. Of course, some of them are plot devices to move the story along and reflect what surgeons have to deal with daily. However, the show does a great job of diving deep into certain situations that serve as direct extensions of where certain characters stand emotionally. For example, in Grey's Anatomy Season 6, Teddy, Kim Raver, has a terminal patient who asks the doctor to help her die by physician-assisted suicide. Owen, of course, has a huge problem with this and even tries to interfere. Fast forward to Season 18, and Owen starts helping terminally ill veterans do the same, which shows his growth as a doctor. Similarly, in Season 5, Erica Hahn, Brooke Smith, pushed Izzy to treat the patient whose heart she had stolen for Denny. The situation forced Izzy to confront her unresolved feelings and learn how to move past the situation as a surgeon. More recently, Addison's return in Season 18, post-Derek's death, to help Meredith with a groundbreaking uterine transplant. The case serves as a way for the two characters to grieve their shared loss and put the past behind them. When the procedure is complicated by a clot, Meredith and Addison work together to clear it, which showcases their growth and mutual respect. This is exactly what makes Grey's Anatomy so different from other medical procedurals. The show is not just about medical breakthroughs and mysterious diseases. Instead, it focuses on the psychological and emotional impact they have on the doctors. This complexity and depth are missing from nearly every other medical drama out there, but Grey's Anatomy nails it every single season. 2. A miraculous recovery. There's no denying that some cases on Grey's Anatomy stretch the limits of reality, but things would be pretty bleak if it weren't for a few miraculous recoveries every season. The truth is that the show really builds up to these moments, which is what makes them feel earned. When you watch episode after episode of unsuccessful surgeries, sudden deaths, and terminally ill patients, you need some hope to cling to. Rashida Flowers' Chantal Maurice case in Season 18 is one of the many cases where the doctors on the show were dealing with a patient who had no hope. Despite the systemic issues and a hospital-wide HVAC failure, Rashida made a full recovery, which is something not even her doctors could have predicted. Grey's Anatomy fans think something truly terrible is coming in mid-season premiere. Here's what the Grey's Anatomy fall finale left the fate of Jo Wilson and her babies in jeopardy. While many fans have been worrying about the surgeon, these fans think there's someone else in true peril. All eyes are on Jo Wilson, Camilla Luddington, for the Grey's Anatomy mid-season premiere, but should we be worried about another character when Season 22 returns in January? According to some fans, yes. In a new thread on the show's Reddit fan page, some Grey's watchers began sharing their predictions for what's ahead when the series returns to resolve the cliffhanger of Jo's condition, and some fans were convinced it's not her who is in real jeopardy. The fall finale found Jo needing an emergency operation on her heart by Winston Dugu, Anthony Hill, after she began suffering distress due to her pregnancy with her and Link's, Chris Carmack, twin babies. While she had initially opted for a less invasive surgery option, Winston determined she needed a more dangerous operation and realized, mid-procedure, he would need to perform an emergency C-section to birth the babies right then and there. Winston admitted he was not seasoned in the procedure and appeared nervous to perform it. So while some fans have been concerned for Jo's outcome, particularly given the foreboding nature of the look-ahead preview for the episode, airing January 8th, a good number of Redditors are more worried about the infants. I think Jo will survive, but one of the twins might die or be close to dying. I could see there being some tension/drama between Link and Winston or Jo and Winston if they found out he did the C-section and something ended up going wrong with one or both of the twins, one fan predicted. I think it's probably gonna be one twin stillborn or perhaps one twin is in the NICU for a while before passing, another guessed. The reason I think this is cause Jo was overwhelmed by twins when she found out, I can't remember, it's been so long and I don't like Jolink, so they'll props throw an argument in there where it's mentioned she didn't initially like the idea of twins at first blah 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 and then they make up, happy family. I think worse comes to worse one of the babies may pass, but something tells me they're about to boot Jo and Link, a third suggested. While Grey's Anatomy has certainly featured the death of many child patients over the course of its now 22 seasons, the children of the surgeons have usually been safe, with one very heartbreaking exception, Samuel, the first baby April, Sarah Drew, and Jackson, Jesse Williams, had, which was diagnosed with type 2 osteogenesis imperfecta and died shortly after delivery. That incident was hands down one of the most gut-wrenching things to ever happen on Grey's Anatomy and left April and Jackson with scars that affected their storylines for several seasons. If these fans' prediction is correct, then we're in for a very somber second half of the season indeed. There's no telling how yet another tragedy would impact Jo or her new marriage to Link. So tell us, are you worried about Jo or her babies when Grey's Anatomy returns for the mid-season? Why or why not? Grey's Anatomy mid-season premiere details finally revealed. The 10 craziest couples in Grey's Anatomy history ranked. The doctors on Grey's Anatomy we've come to know and love for 22 seasons are excellent at taking care of other people's bodies, but when it comes to managing their own hearts, that isn't really the case. Nobody can judge their instinct to find a mate at work. Their jobs are insanely stressful, and they spend so much of their time in the hospital, they practically live there, making office romances inevitable. Naturally, not every pairing is going to be as healthy as the relationship between Ben, Jason George, and Bailey, Chandra Wilson. But good relationships don't necessarily make for addictive, can't look away TV, you need a little mess. So, in celebration of the mess, here are 10 of the craziest couples on Grey's Anatomy, ranked from kinda sus to total hot mess. 10. Derek Shepherd and Rose. The love story between Meredith Grey, Ellen Pompeo, and Derek Shepherd, Patrick Dempsey, remains one of the most significant in all of TV history. Which is why the love story between Derek and Rose, Lauren Stamley, just couldn't hold a candle to what he and Mare had. The painful truth was that Rose was really just a rebound option for Derek after he and Meredith initially broke up, and that manifested in their inability to connect on a deeper level and his coolness toward her after they had sex. Worse, Rose got a little vengeful after she and Derek fizzled out, pretending that she was pregnant was further proof this whole situation was not good for either of them. 9. Owen Hunt and Teddy Altman. After this couple's years of almosts, missed connections, physical distance over the seasons, and even an attempt at an open marriage, you'd think their eventual commitment would be built to last. But Owen's, Kevin McKidd, need for stability and slight control issues meant butting heads with Teddy's, Kim Raver, strong-willed nature. Things finally reached their breaking point, and they called it quits at the end of season 21. In hindsight, Teddy cheating on Owen on their wedding day was probably a bad omen. 8. Owen Hunt and Christina Yang. Owen really wanted to be a parent, and Christina, Sandra Oh, didn't, a conversation they definitely should have had before getting married. Yet when she was really clear that she didn't want her future to include diapers, things got ugly. He cheated on her and high-key manipulated her into feeling guilty for prioritizing her career, sawing through her confidence like a bone in the They finally got divorced, but not without what felt like an eternity of anguish. 7. Owen Hunt and Amelia Shepherd. Owen thought he was going to be able to create the family unit he so desperately wanted with Amelia, Katerina Scorsone, but their on-again, off-again partnership ended up being another strikeout. They too disagreed on starting a family, and Amelia's brain tumor caused her to make erratic, impulsive decisions that wore their dynamic down. His tendency to push made her withdraw, and their explosive fights made it evident their rushed marriage was a major oopsie. Who'd have thought dating your step-sibling would be a bad idea? Jackson, Jesse Williams, and Maggie Kelly McCreary were kinda doomed from the start due to the awkward nature of their situation, and with their constant fighting and Jackson's tendency to disappear, Jaggy was sometimes tough to witness. 5. Preston Burke and Christina Yang. Poor Christina put all her needs and boundaries on the back burner to be with the controlling Burke, Isaiah Washington, setting the standard for the show's most compelling bad romances. It totally wrecked us to see him humiliate her by calling off their wedding at the altar, giving them the dubious honor of having one of the most disastrous wedding ceremonies in Grey's Anatomy history. For Izzy Stevens and George O'Malley. Going from besties to lovers can be a beautiful blessing, or in the case of Izzy, Katherine Heigl and George T.R. Knight, a tragic mistake. They didn't exactly start off on the right foot, with that drunken one-night stand that ruined George's marriage to Callie, Sarah Ramirez, and their discovery that they couldn't recreate the same magic as that first night revealed a lack of chemistry. That, coupled with their guilt, did their romance in, shanking their friendship to death in the process. 3. Jackson Avery and April Kepner. Kicking off with a spontaneous sex sesh triggered by the stress of their medical board exams, Japril evolved into a model for a high-quality hot mess. After April, Sarah Drew moved on and got engaged to Matthew Taylor, Justin Bruning, Jackson had the bold audacity to stand up at their wedding and shout out his love for her. Their happily ever after hit severe road bumps with the death of their first child and a later divorce, but they were able to find their way back to each other. Still, their path rivaled Dorothy's in The Wizard of Oz in terms of intensity and the utterly insane things happening. 2. Izzy Stevens and Ghost Denny. Decades before ghosting became a thing in the popular lexicon, Izzy shocked audiences by dating a phantom. She and heart patient Denny Duquette, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, found love in season 2, but their bond was cut short by his heartbreaking death, which she was partly responsible for after cutting his LVAD wire to get him a transplant. But it was his return, in her mind, that got wild. In season 5, poor Izzy starts seeing Denny around the hospital and begins having full-on conversations, arguments, and even sex with him, which all ended up being signs of a tumor. Not exactly healthy, but hey, dating a ghost is easier than dating a human, eh? 1. Alex Karev and Ava/Rebecca Pope. Catching feelings for a patient who's suffering from amnesia is crazy work, and this storyline kept getting juicier and wilder as the seconds ticked on. Alex, Justin Chambers, not only stomped over doctor-patient ethics by getting googly-eyed for her but also went so far as to name the Jane Doe patient Ava, Elizabeth Reeser. Their bond got spectacularly twisted when she remembered her real name, Rebecca, and that she had a husband, which kickstarted a mental health spiral that included a suicide attempt. Alex eventually helped her get the care she needed, but the whole event was a long, strange trip indeed. Grey's Anatomy, fans think something truly terrible is coming in mid-season premiere. Here's what the Grey's Anatomy fall finale left the fate of Jo Wilson and her babies in jeopardy. While many fans have been worrying about the surgeon, these fans think there's someone else in true peril. All eyes are on Jo Wilson, Camilla Luddington, for the Grey's Anatomy mid-season premiere, but should we be worried about another character when season 22 returns in January? According to some fans, yes. In a new thread on the show's Reddit fan page, some Grey's watchers began sharing their predictions for what's ahead when the series returns to resolve the cliffhanger of Jo's condition, and some fans were convinced it's not her who is in real jeopardy. The fall finale found Jo needing an emergency operation on her heart by Winston Dugu, Anthony Hill, after she began suffering distress due to her pregnancy with her and Link's, Chris Carmack, twin babies. While she had initially opted for a less invasive surgery option, Winston determined she needed a more dangerous operation and realized, mid-procedure, he would need to perform an emergency C-section to birth the babies right then and there. I think Jo will survive, but one of the twins might die or be close to dying. I could see there being some tension/drama between Link and Winston or Jo and Winston if they found out he did the C-section and something ended up going wrong with one or both of the twins, one fan predicted. I think it's probably gonna be one twin stillborn or perhaps one twin is in the NICU for a while before passing, another guessed. The reason I think this is cause Jo was overwhelmed by twins when she found out, I can't remember, it's been so long and I don't like Jolink, so they'll props throw an argument in there where it's mentioned she didn't initially like the idea of twins at first blah 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 and then they make up, happy family. I think worse comes to worse one of the babies may pass, but something tells me they're about to boot Jo and Link, a third suggested. While Grey's Anatomy has certainly featured the death of many child patients over the course of its now 22 seasons, the children of the surgeons have usually been safe, with one very heartbreaking exception, Samuel, the first baby April, Sarah Drew, and Jackson, Jesse Williams, had, which was diagnosed with type 2 osteogenesis imperfecta and died shortly after delivery. That incident was hands down one of the most gut-wrenching things to ever happen on Grey's Anatomy and left April and Jackson with scars that affected their storylines for several seasons. If these fans' prediction is correct, then we're in for a very somber second half of the season indeed. There's no telling how yet another tragedy would impact Jo or her new marriage to Link. So tell us, are you worried about Jo or her babies when Grey's Anatomy returns for the mid-season? Why or why not? Grey's Anatomy crew had a much more filthy nickname for Patrick Dempsey's McDreamy. Plenty of characters on Grey's Anatomy have nicknames, but Derek McDreamy Shepherd, Patrick Dempsey, probably has the most memorable moniker of the bunch. Oddly enough, the original behind-the-scenes version of Dr. Shepherd's nickname was never uttered on the long-running medical drama, as it would have been considered wildly inappropriate for primetime network television. We called him Dr. MC Scream Me F******* me during the pilot. McDreamy was the PG-rated version, revealed series creator Shonda Rhimes in an interview for Lynette Rice's book, How to Save a Life, The Inside Story of Grey's Anatomy. It's really amazing that this thing that we came up with while shooting the pilot, just because Patrick Dempsey is so adorable, stuck. Patrick Dempsey has mixed feelings about the McDreamy nickname. While he is grateful to have starred in so many great Grey's Anatomy episodes, he told Fatherly the role opened so many doors around the world for him and provided the opportunity to do things I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. McDreamy is also a lot of pressure to live up to. If you're a celebrity that has any kind of visibility, people are going to clock you and your behavior, said Dempsey in his Fatherly interview. Then you have something like McDreamy, it's like, this is supposedly the perfect male. How do you hold that? I'm not that at all. Be that as it may, Dempsey appears to accept that he'll probably be associated with the flattering alias for the rest of his career. It is what it is, he said in 2021, when The Independent asked him how he felt about fans still calling him McDreamy 6 years after his departure from Grey's Anatomy. It's a character that some people are just discovering for the first time, so if they see me and it makes them feel good, and my identifying that for them makes them feel validated, then I'm very happy about it.